Welcome to Beyond the Bar, the podcast where coffee and conversation are a catalyst for growth. If you've been searching for that coffee with a friend experience that leaves you feeling seen, met, and encouraged, you've come to the right place. So grab your cup, listen up, and together we're going beyond the bar.
Hi guys, welcome to Beyond the Bar. I'm your host, Abby. I'm so excited that you're here. Today's episode is going to be a little bit untraditional from our previous episodes, and in full transparency, I'm a little bit nervous for it. I'm handing off my hosting responsibilities today because we're going to be diving into my personal story, the journey to redemption, and if you stick around until the end, I'm going to be sharing a couple of secrets that you can expect with season 4 at Redemption. So I'm going to introduce our new host for today's show episode. She's my cousin, one of my best friends. I've known her entire life, so I'm a little bit intimidated what that's going to look like on asking the questions. But this is my cousin, Lily Melton.
Hi, guys. I am so excited to be here. I am also super nervous. This is new for me. I'm totally a person that loves podcasts, but this is my first one, so bear with me while we get through this together. But like you said, this has been a really non-traditional season, couple seasons. Lots happened. And I know how this has all been started. I've been with you through the ups and downs, but kind of give your listeners just kind of how it got started and what do you have to say?
Yeah, it was definitely a untraditional start to a business, I would say. I was in my final semester of college. I was graduating with a degree in marketing, and that was kind of, that date was like impending. And I was freaking out because I didn't want to go into marketing. So I was at the shop crying with Grandpa Richard and just like, I don't know what to do. All I want to do is this like coffee shop and roastery that I've kind of dreamed about. And I remember him looking at me and saying, like, Abby, with God, nothing is impossible. So why don't you just start looking? So I did and found the shipping container, and yeah, the rest is kind of history. Within 3 months, like from that conversation to grand opening day, that was like a 3-month process. So it happened really fast, and yeah, I graduated, and then a week later we were opening. So
yeah. So what was kind of like just going through your mind at that point? Like, I mean, you get the happiest of happy, you get the lowest, you get like the scary, like the unknown, like what was going through your mind?
Honestly, looking back at it now, like I couldn't have said this at the time, but after a few years of like processing, I really feel like there's just a ton of like grace covering me the whole time. If I would have thought through it hard enough, and I was thinking through it, like it wasn't something I took lightly, but I kind of feel like the Lord like blinded me to like my own natural tendencies, kind of.
Yeah.
It looking back now, it almost seems out of character.
Yeah.
Because I have been like such a planner and such a control person, wanting to just everything to go perfectly and like the way I want it to. I don't want to jump unless it feels like really safe. So I've always been someone who struggled to take risks. Yeah. I only did things that felt like comfortable. And so looking back now, I'm like, I don't even know how Abby did that. Like, that's so not Abby.
Right.
So I think, yeah, like there was a ton of emotions, like you said. But for the most part, I was actually pretty much like, I knew this is what I was supposed to do, even though I was doing a bunch of things I had never done before. And it was going super fast and really crazy. So yeah, I think God just really had a hand in that whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. And so, you know, people... So your first season, it was great. You're still trying to figure things out. A lot was happening. So then what kind of was that next piece that fell into place, or kind of like what happened?
Yeah, so we did the first season, and like I said, I had been coming off of school. So I was a full-time student. I was working almost full-time and then trying to launch a business at the same time. So just tons of hours, working insane. And then went through season 1. So again, just like putting my head down, working really hard. In the fall, we closed for the end of our first season, and I crashed. Yeah. Like in every way you could crash, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, I was just like done. So it was probably actually like one of the lowest periods in my life ever. So that was kind of what was next.
Yeah, that I think that, you know, just for anyone in general, like that is so hard. Like, how do you go, that's like nonstop. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I have like nothing left to do. It's like your moment of peace. Like what's trying to process everything and like trying to figure out like, oh my gosh, like what even happened, because like really good things, some scary things. Was there anyone in your life in particular that you were like, this person like was with me and like held me together?
Yeah. So like I said, it was probably like the lowest season in my life. I was just exhausted, but then also just personally, my life was kind of unraveling and falling apart. And so I had a period where like I had anxiety attacks in high school.
Yep.
And they started coming back that fall. And so I just got like really anxious, really scared. I like barely left my house that fall, actually. Going to the grocery store would give me anxiety. And so just like really, really low. That was probably a couple month period. And then I just got to this point where I kind of felt like the Lord was like, okay, like that time is over and like you need some help. So I had actually reached out to a lady in our church named Debbie Jetto. And
we love Debbie Jetto.
We love Debbie Jetto. Definitely do. She definitely comes back later in my story, but I had reached out to her and I had just essentially gone to her and been like, I need help. Like I am not going to make it in my life if I don't have like, I just need somebody.
Right.
So we started meeting weekly. And like religiously meeting weekly because I just needed someone to talk to and to help like process emotions with, process what was going on in my personal life. I needed that lifeline. So yeah, she definitely, I mean, I have a super supportive family and stuff too, but her specifically was somebody that I was like consistently talking to that kind of helped me walk through that really emotional season for sure.
Was there anything that stuck out to you in particular that she had said or done, or like, here's some tools that can really help you, and then taking that on and like really implementing them in your life? Yeah,
probably the biggest like overall takeaway, and granted, like we had met for months weekly, so lots of things said, but I think one of the biggest things she said, which has played into like our core values at Redemption actually, is she looked at me and was kind of like, Abby, I get that life is hard and I get that there's circumstances that you don't like, and I'm not saying that they're okay. I'm not justifying like hurt that's happening or circumstances, but you're responsible for you. You're accountable to you. And so you're responsible for your own heart and how you show up to issues. And so like anxiety, real thing, feeling lonely or struggling or just feeling scared of the future, all of those things are real things. So she never like denied what I was feeling, but she pretty much in like the most gracious way possible was like, I see where you're at. And I will sit with you in the mud puddle for a bit, but then I'm going to help you out of it because it's not truth. Like your life isn't stuck in the mud, and I'm going to help you walk out of the mud. So that was kind of like probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. I think that honestly is so inspiring for a lot of people, just because it's like you get your moment to like sit in the puddle, like you get that, but then like you can't go anywhere if you continue to sit in that.
Yeah.
So then being like, we're going to get through like, you're not going to do it alone. Like, I'll be here with you. And I think that just helps a lot of people like going through similar things, different things, just realizing, okay, I get to feel those things, but then I need to be strong enough to like then move past that.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things I learned through that experience was like just how poorly people can do it sometimes, and myself included. Like I've been the person who's been a bad friend before, where I've either gone on the side of like brushing away people's feelings or emotions or trauma and being like, oh, like get over it, like suck it up, or all those piffy things that we say, or just being like, no, trauma isn't real, hard things shouldn't have impact, which was just super naive and like stupid on my part.
Right.
But then you can go to the other extreme where you can just like tell people, like validate people's struggles so much that you just like say, yeah, live in the mud puddle forever. And that's not okay either.
Right.
It actually doesn't help somebody to just be like, yeah, your life does suck and that is so hard and that person's horrible or X, Y, and Z, like be whatever it may. Like life is hard and there's this like grace-filled balance, which another part of our core values, which is like responding to things in grace and grit. There's a balance between both of those, of having enough grace for people that you can sit in the mud puddle with them. And then enough grit to know and to say, I know this is really going to hurt and it's going to be hard and muddy and sticky and uncomfortable, but I'm like, let's climb out of the mud now.
Yeah.
And so she definitely helped teach me that. Now it's like a core of who I am. It's a core of the business. Now it's what I tell my friends.
Yeah, we love hearing that. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so now you've been meeting with her monthly. Then kind of where are we at right now at this point?
Yeah, we met monthly, and then in the winter, my life really drastically changed. So I ended up like facing a divorce, which was just an entirely, obviously just like life switch.
For sure.
And so entering season 2 of Redemption, my life was entirely different.
Yeah.
I was coming off of just, again, like the same low, like mental, emotional, physical, spiritual low, and just like hard life.
Yeah.
And so season 2 was such a vulnerable, scary thing. I have a like vivid memory of standing in the doorway at Redemption in tears going like, God, I don't know how to do this. Everything in my life has feeling like it's fallen apart.
Yeah.
Literally everything. And I can't lose this too. And I almost audibly heard the Lord say, Abby, open hands, willing heart. And that I wrote it on my mirror in the back of Redemption. Like you've seen it. Now it's kind of like a motto, but like that summer, I repeated that to myself, like that mantra to myself the entire summer. Just knowing that, knowing it was from the Lord and knowing that I really needed to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, like one of the things that makes Redemption and you so unique and untraditional compared to like other coffee shops is that like we can sit at, I mean, I tell you, I sat at that bar so many times, like trauma dumping on you, but like it's almost like a safe place. Like you get to sit at my bar and tell me all the things that like you feel safe talking about, and like I will do my best like listening to you and honestly like sharing like, yeah, like I have gone through similar things, and then just like creating that community that, I mean, I know we've talked about before of like how many relationships like that has cultivated through that. And so I don't know, like you tell me, was that the start of, you know, like the cultivating relationships? Because like that was a huge thing for you.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the Lord had been working on that for a long time, like getting me more comfortable with being uncomfortable, getting me more comfortable with being out of what felt like control and just like surrendering to his plan. But really, he super was working on being okay with telling my story. Yeah. Even the really messy, hard, uncomfortable parts of it, because they're a platform for hope. And that really, that summer became the mantra for me of, and it's ironic because the name Redemption I had since I was since I was in high school. So it wasn't something I had like pre-planned or organized. Right. It was totally the Lord. Like the Lord had given me the name in high school. And so when I was walking through that, the Lord kind of told me, like, I gave you the name Redemption before you ever knew this was in your story, but I knew, like, this isn't beyond me. And so I think I just really started to see how me being willing to just uncomfortably say, like, my life has been really hard and I don't have all the answers to this and this isn't what I wanted. Being willing to say that, I was amazed at the amount of people over the bar then that were like, thank you for saying that. And then they felt comfortable enough because I was awkward and vulnerable, like really personal. They felt comfortable enough then to admit what was hard in their life. And like you said, it created a space at the bar, which is kind of the point of this podcast.
Hello.
It created a space at the bar where people could feel seen, met, and encouraged, where they felt a little bit more hopeful. Not because I had all these magical answers, but because I had gone through something, I was going through something really hard, and I still had hope.
Yeah.
I still had hope that there was redemption, that redemption was possible. And so, like, I'm still on that journey. I'm still on my personal journey to redemption. I don't have, like, the magical, like, and then I met Mr. Right and he, like, magically fixed everything. Like, I don't have that ending yet.
Yeah.
This is just, like, I still believe that there's hope. I still believe that there's redemption here. And so I think that's kind of where that came in for me.
I love that. So, honestly, like, what's been your... so you took the leap of faith and you really listened to God and like what he was telling you to do. And you started sharing your story and really being open to the community and kind of this awesome thing that was happening. So what was your reaction kind of, towards the end of the season? You started doing that. You were faithful, really good conversations. Were you just like, wow, God is so faithful? Like, what was your reaction when you took those steps of faith?
I was really overwhelmed by the fact that I could feel that the Lord was going to use the messy parts of me. Because it was just very clear to me that he didn't want my perfect story. He wanted my messy one.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to come to terms with that. And to, because it just, again, it wasn't the story that I would have ever asked for. And so I spent that next winter really focusing on like personal healing and personal growth and, where was my life going from here? But really it was kind of the Lord doing a work of just saying like, I've got this, trust me with it and hold on to my promises and my truths and claim those even when you can't see circumstantially how the story is righted for good yet. Believe in it anyways.
Yeah.
Pray for it anyways. Speak it anyways. Share it anyways. Because people need that.
Yeah.
Other people need that. And so, I think that was kind of true for me that next winter then.
Yeah, because it's so easy to be kind of in this, like, where you can put on a show and be like, I'm not going to be my real authentic self. I'm going to put on the show because it's easy and I want people to view me that way. And I want people to see that I'm okay and like all these things. And it can be so easy to do in like every aspect of life, like whether it's your faith or, relationships or financial stuff.
Yeah.
And I think like everyone can attest to that of like, we all feel it, but like it is so important to be just like raw and authentically yourself. And so I think like that honestly, like by watching you do that and being honest, like being your cousin and stuff and watching you do that was like, no, like it's okay not to be okay. Yeah. And like recognizing that and, like moving forward.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I really had to learn, first I had to learn that it's okay to not be okay. And because everything had fallen apart and I was like needing to do this business still and work crazy amount of hours a week, I like didn't even have the energy to try to pretend that I was okay. Yeah. So it was like, that wasn't even like an option because I didn't have the like manpower to do that. So I had to learn that first. And then secondly, I had to learn the balance between it is okay to not be okay. It's not okay to stay in the mud forever though. So learn that. I had to learn like taking up your own personal accountability for your own mistakes and your own participation in problems and in your own faults. So taking that. And then I also had to learn that it's okay to have boundaries around things too. And so being authentic doesn't mean that everyone's righted to every part of your story.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's okay to have healthy boundaries and it's okay to have things that are private and it's okay to only share certain things with certain people who can handle that information and safeguard it and help you get out of the mud. Yeah. And so I started to have to get really intentional about the relationships I had in my life because not everyone was pointing you where you wanted to go. And I didn't want to sit in the mud anymore. Right. And so I was really grateful that the Lord put that in me, but I didn't want didn't want divorce to be the rest of my story. And I'm really grateful that that happened right away at the beginning. And so even though I was hurting and even though it was really low and really broken, I knew I didn't want my life to be over or defined by it for forever.
Yeah. I remember you telling me something. We were on our way to Duluth and you were like, Lily, like, are you going to be defined by this or are you going to be refined by it? And I think that like stuck so much to me because I was like, okay, this thing happened to me and it's super sad. And it was like, I was hurting. And like, you know, you can either go two paths. You can go to this crazy path and be like, my life sucks and I'm going to do all these horrible things.
Yep.
Or you can be like, no, like, I'm a daughter of a king. God has created me for all these amazing things. This horrible thing happened to me, but like, I'm going to show Christ and I want people to look at me and be like, she has something bigger than like anything this world can give.
Yeah.
And so I think when you said that to me, it was like, oh my goodness, this girl has some good things to say. You know?
And I think like even for people who aren't believers, the stories that you're attracted to are people who are refined by what they go through, not defined by it.
Yep.
Like think about all the movies you want to go to. When you watch like that inspiring commercial and you're like, oh, I want to go see that. It's not the person who is defined by it.
Yep.
Like, oh, my legs got blown off and then I just sat there for the rest of my life. Like, no one would go to see that movie.
No, it's like where the person becomes like an Olympic runner on.
Yes. And like the guy, and then he runs and like you're crying at the end of the movie because like he wasn't defined by his trauma. He was refined by it.
Yeah.
And he was made better. And what's crazy usually in those stories is the person usually says some version of like, I actually wouldn't change it now. Yep. I would never wish it on anybody. I would never go through it again, but I wouldn't change it because I like me better. And that has become my story. Yeah. Where I'd go, I'd never wish divorce on anybody. I would never want to go through it again. I still don't love that it's in my story at all. Right. It's embarrassing still. But I wouldn't change it because I like Abby better. Like all of my core values, like our first 4 episodes that we went through, all of those things were pulled from this season of life. All of those things were lessons I was taught through this. So yeah, like you said, I think it's super applicable and it's helped me encourage other people now moving forward of going like, yeah, you have a choice. So pick. Do you want it to be what defines you for forever? Or would you just like to be refined by this and come out better and stronger and more encouraging to other people?
Yeah. Okay, so we're wrapping up. We wrapped up season 2. We're starting season 3. Kind of give us a brief intro to season 3.
Yeah, season 3 was entirely different. I had done my healing for the most part and mindset had just shifted a lot for me. It was the first time I ever related to the word entrepreneur. So season 3 was the first time where I was like, I think I like this. Like, I think I'm excited about this. So it's just really different. That's when we launched Cultivate Events. So we launched Cultivate Events season 3. So last summer we had 3 events. Ending with kind of like a big bang finale in the fall, right before we closed. So yeah, it was just really different. It was super fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't not enjoy the previous seasons, but this was just the first time where like it kind of got like super fun.
Yeah, where you're like, I'm good. My like mental health good. I am fully present and redemption was just kind of taking off and doing its things.
Yeah, I was doing its thing and I was just, like my personal life was less traumatic. Yeah. So it was just like a lot more fun to be there. And yeah, I just embraced, like I said, the word entrepreneur more and then kind of the like lifestyle and mindset that went with that. So just being like full send, let's do this thing. I'm having fun. So that was really nice.
Yeah. And it was super fun just to see, you know, you take your like marketing side and, you know, implementing that with your business and all that and just like watching people come together and having fun and doing all the things.
Yeah. So that part was really fun. I also just started kind of doing that in my personal life too, like the cultivating relationships thing. So I think that helped a lot too. Like I was just significantly more intentional. Like everything I was doing was just like intentionality was my buzzword. It still is, but like it really started last summer.
Yeah. So intentionality can be like a super big word and it can be really hard and just like you look at it and you're like, it takes time and it's hard and it's all the things. So what were kind of the ways that you were like, I need to be serious about this. Like I need girlfriends, I need relationships, I need these things, and like I need them, just like to be well and to do them good and to be intentional. So like what was your mindset kind of flipping that and then going into that?
Yeah, I think experiencing loss in relationships, it's done multiple things for me in life. Sometimes before it's made me not want to have relationships because I don't want to get hurt. Yeah. But then the Lord really kind of taught me like, hey, loss is a part of life. Sometimes people are going to leave and they're going to choose to leave. But you get to control how you show up. Kind of like I said, like taking that personal accountability for it. And so my mindset really just started to be like, I want to be the best Abby I can be. I want to have the best life that I can have. And I'm not going to get there accidentally. Like it's not going to happen on an accident. You're not going to have awesome friendships on accident. You're not going to have an awesome marriage on accident. Your life isn't going to happen unless you make it happen. And so I just started to really evaluate, like, this was the first season in my life in a really long time where I got to make the calls by myself. There was nobody else to factor in. It was just Abby. So I don't tell a lot of people this, but like I actually had a moment where I was like, should I just like move? Like, should I like sell the business or just like shut the door and like move anywhere? Because like it was an option. It was the first time in my life where like it was like you can actually do whatever you want to. So what do you want to do? And I realized I wanted the same things. I wanted to be in this community because it's where my people are. This is where my nephew is, and I want to watch him grow up. And like, I love this town, and I love serving this town coffee and having conversations. And so I just got a lot of clarity on like what was my vision, which we talked about in a previous episode. So if you're curious more about that, you can go listen to that. Tune in. But I had to figure out what was my vision. What did I want for my life? And then after kind of nailing it on that, I had to decide, well, what's the strategy to get there? And intentionality just became obvious. Like you have to decide, how do I break this down so I can become her? And that's sort of what I did. I just decided the person I wanted to be, and now I'm on the journey to becoming her. So long ways away from being like done, finished Abby, but definitely like eyes locked on like, I want to be her. I want those things to be true about me someday. What can I do today to be one step closer to being that person? Yeah.
I know I was in your room and we had talked about vision boards and kind of just like briefly just touch into that, because I know like that can be a super helpful step for someone when you're like, here's the person I want to be, here are all the life things that I want, and then kind of just putting that out. And I know like you were super big into that, so just like briefly talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways you can do some version of this. I tend to be like a much more creatively minded person and like visual. And so for me, I'm So for me, I'm definitely like the full-on Pinterest board person. And so I kind of just like went through those Pinterest boards and like physically printed off and made like a whole little collage, and it's in my office.
So cute.
But you could do this with words. You could do this through writing. You could just like sit and ponder if that's your thing. So like whatever, it could take on different forms. But I just like looked at the full scope of life. So not just like business, like or work, but relationships. What do I want to be true about those? What do I want to be true about my health? What do I want to be true about my finances? What do I want to be true about my hobbies? And I kind of went like the full scope of like what makes up a person, what makes up me. Which is true for everybody, and then kind of define what would it look like for me for that area, like what would it have to look like for that to be claimed successful, and that's going to be different for everybody. So for somebody else, like financially, that could mean $5 million in 2 years, and like that's what success looks like. That's a whole different conversation, like getting into defining success and yada yada. But for me, I just had to ask those questions. Well, what would success in friendships look like to me? And I defined it. And then when I defined it and I looked at my reality, I was like, ooh, I'm really off. Like I'm really off from where I want to be. So then in all of those areas of life, I just started to go, well, if I want to be there, How do I get there?
Yep.
So one of the things I had done then that summer was I texted a bunch of girls from the community and I was like, hey, this is super random. Sorry. Kind of my MO. But like, I am going to start meeting Wednesdays at the beach and we're just going to chat and like talk life. And there's not going to be anything like super formal for it. But like, I pretty much just said this probably super awkward, but like I'm like hungry for a relationship. I'm hungry for friendships.
Yep.
And so this is my like really awkward, embarrassing, like public cry of like, I need female relationships. And what's crazy is it worked.
Yes, it did.
Like what's crazy is all summer on Wednesdays, I think we only missed like 1 or 2 Wednesdays. Sometimes we even went when it was like pouring rain.
You'll like major thunderstorm. You get the like tornado sirens going and everyone's like, get to the beach.
That happened. And, but it was so good. It was so cool to watch. Like when I stood up and I raised my hand and I was vulnerable, which has kind of been my whole story. But when I said like, hey, life is really hard. I've been through some hard things. These are my broken parts. Every single time it's caused other people to open up and feel free to admit their own weaknesses and their own struggles. And what's cool then is together we can move forward to something better. And so now I've just watched like other people cultivate their own relationships too. And that's been really cool. And it wasn't because I did something magical. It was because I was just honest enough to say, I'm really lonely.
Yeah, you took that vulnerable step. And I think it just grew so many amazing things out of it. And it was super awesome. And we loved to see it. And that was such a fun summer.
It was
so fun. Ordering nachos, sitting on the beach, playing volleyball in the sand. So many great conversations. Just like truly getting to know all these amazing women and being like, let's do hard together. Let's do it. Let's do it well. That. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. No, that was definitely what it produced, which was really cool.
Yeah. All right. So that wrapped up season 3. Amazing. We loved season 3. We're excited for season 4.
Yes.
All the things.
All the things.
So what can we expect in season 4?
Yeah. So this is like total. Well, okay. First off, you can expect the podcast. So that's new.
Hello, we're here.
Hey, if you aren't watching, you should be. Or listening. Yeah. Started that. So that's been like a huge project this winter. We'll continue releasing episodes throughout the summer. So this is a way to take conversations that we have at the bar at Redemption beyond the bar and have them beyond the bar. So this is new, but probably like our biggest insider secret that we haven't shared anywhere is we're creating an entirely new space at Redemption.
Drum roll.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Finally convinced, I shouldn't say I did. My dad actually was the one who finally convinced my grandpa to let me take over like a different part of the property.
Yep.
So it's like an actual redemption project. And as we're recording this episode, like I literally today, I don't know if you can see this, but I hit a tree hit my face as I was because I was like giant cut. Well, it's not giant. It feels giant. So as we're recording, we are redeeming that space. Yeah. It looks horrible. We just moved a giant semi that's been there for like 20 years by inches. Like we had inches of space on either side of 2 buildings and it just came out.
Oh my goodness.
So we're in the process of doing that, but the goal is to have an event space on Redemption's property. So that's probably like the biggest secret. So if you are an insider listening to this episode, you are like the first to know.
Oh my goodness. We love secrets. Tune in. You need to be listening to this because you'll get all the secrets.
All the secrets. I'm really excited for that. We're calling it the Courtyard.
Ooh, fun.
I know. So parties at the Courtyard. I'm not exactly sure what that entails yet, but we were just really looking for a way to keep doing Cultivate events.
Yeah.
So ways to get people together, doing community. So now we have a way.
All right. Any secrets in your personal life?
I wish there were secrets in my personal life. No, not really any secrets in my personal life. I've definitely just been hitting the ground hard with business. trying to invest in like my friendships still and stuff like that. So nothing interesting really to tell there, except definitely find your girlfriends in life.
For sure.
And invest in them. It's totally worth it. So that's not really a secret, just like advice.
Yeah.
Find them, put in the effort, do hard things together, have awkward conversations.
Yep.
My friends and I have like a quarterly connect, which I started. So we meet once a quarter, like we meet more than that, but like specifically just to talk about like what we could do better and what our goals are for the next quarter. So like just get intentional in your relationships. Yeah.
We love that. It's so important.
So not a secret, but
hopefully it'll be secret soon.
Yeah, I'm actually chaos, but it works out. So I appreciate you being willing to come without any forewarning, any prep, like literally none. You did this totally off the cuff. So thanks for being here and doing it. Yeah, and thank you guys for being here and for watching. I'm so appreciative for you guys listening. You can hit that subscribe button to get the next episode release. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Beyond the bar.